Hello everybody, my name is Eliseo Sansone and this is Z Theory, a channel dedicated to helping you find truth, taking action, and reaching your destiny. Today we're going to be talking about some tips to help you do just that. Before we get started, please subscribe now so this way you can get all of our updated videos as we continue to make new videos each week. Thank you. So here we go, 3 tips to help you find your niche. You know, many entrepreneurs, when they're starting out, they're looking at, oh, this is the best way to make money. They're looking at different, whatever the hype is out there, the best product out there, and they're really trying to connect that, and they're doing all these activities. And little by little, you know, most of those will actually fall off and lose interest in the process. Why? Because you're not connecting your purpose and your personality with that business model. So what we want to do is you're exploring different business ideas. As you're learning more about yourself, you really have to take a step back, really look inside and say, okay, if I'm going to put all this effort, time, and energy, this is not your 9 to 5. This is going to be a lifestyle because it will require more than your typical 9 to 5. So if I'm going to do more than the typical 9 to 5 and I'm not trading in hours if you don't want to trade in hours for a paycheck, then what you really need to do is connect with your purpose and connect it to a vision and connect it with a product or service or something that you can bring a value to the world around you, and find a client base that is looking for that value and will pay you for that value or whatever the business model is. So here we go, 3 tips to help you find your niche. You know, many entrepreneurs, when they're starting out, they're looking at, oh, this is the best way to make money. They're looking at different, whatever the hype is out there, the best product out there, and they're really trying to connect that, and they're doing all these activities. And little by little, you know, most of those will actually fall off and lose interest in the process. Why? Because you're not connecting your purpose and your personality with that business model. So what we want to do is you're exploring different business ideas. As you're learning more about yourself, you really have to take a step back, really look inside and say, okay, if I'm going to put all this effort, time, and energy, this is not your 9 to 5. This is going to be a lifestyle because it will require more than your typical 9 to 5. So if I'm going to do more than the typical 9 to 5 and I'm not trading in hours if you don't want to trade in hours for a paycheck, then what you really need to do is connect with your purpose and connect it to a vision and connect it with a product or service or something that you can bring a value to the world around you, and find a client base that is looking for that value and will pay you for that value or whatever the business model is. Let's start with tip 1. What are your interests and passions? Seems like a no-brainer, right? But really sit down, and during this process, you're going to go through this video, you could pause or just make sure you have a piece of paper, you're writing it down, or tablet, whatever. Just write it down. What are your interests and what are your passions? And just the first things that come to your mind, just write them down. Don't think too hard, just the first things that come out of your mind. Write them down. That's your starting point. You can go back to that and start adding later. Okay? But it's really important that you think about what triggers your interest. Think about this. When is it that you're talking about something, or you're looking up a situation or articles or information? What is it that when you're looking at it, time just kind of flies by? You lose awareness of time because you're interested in what you're either reading, looking at, going after. What is that situation? Write those down. What helps you, what causes you to lose track of time? And write those down. Tip number 2. What problems can you solve? You may have lots of skills already to start with. Skills could be a trade, or it could be just the way you think, your emotional response to situations. Some people are very detail oriented. They're very focused on little details. Some people have a broader aspect on things. They're able to see the big picture and not worry about the details. Neither is good or bad, but those are your strengths. Those are your tools initially. Aside from trade, things you learned how to do, carpentry, electrical, or you learned how to do marketing, and you learned how to, decorate. Things like that are things skill sets you have. Some of it's natural, some of it's learned. There's so much information out there that if you're interested in something, you can learn. But just take a note of what skill sets do you have right now. What problems when you see. Now here's a good example. When you see a problem, certain problems, maybe it could be the way traffic, whatever. It could be a system, a process, maybe a business that you had experience with, their processes, and you might say this process really sucks, and it's causing a bad experience, and you move on with your life. You don't even think twice about it, but you just know you had a bad experience. But what about those experiences that you had where you looked at the problem and said, you know what, if they just did it this way or this way, it would streamline the process. It would be much better. It would be a much better experience. Think about those scenarios where you looked at a problem set and came up with a solution on how to improve it, and write those down just to jog your memory, and also write down your skill sets that you have, and both learned and acquired, and in natural abilities, natural inclinations to see things a certain way. For some people, they're very in touch with their emotions. They're sensitive. And to some people they say, oh, well, that's a weakness or whatever. Not toughen up. No, I believe that's your strength. So in what scenarios in life were you able to sense differences that other people didn't sense? Take a catalog of those scenarios and those natural abilities, and come back to it later, because these are all clues on your path to really blooming and becoming the person that you were meant to be. Tip number 3, what do people talk to you about? When you're in a crowd, when you go to an event, not just random people, but people who know you, your friends, your family, what do they come to you? When they come to you and start talking, once you get past the whole, how was your day, how was your week, that kind of thing, what do people actually talk to you about? That's a huge clue. People remember you. For what? Some people, every time they see you, they want to know about the local sports team. Hey, what do you think about such and such? And they start talking to you about sports because you're very, you know your stats or whatever. Some people, every time they see you, they want to know more about your artwork, your projects. Some people, when they come to you, they're always talking to you about the relationship. They're pouring out their heart to you. They just want they want your opinion. They value your opinion. These are all such important clues. These are the things we didn't think about. These are our natural connections to people. And, if you could call and ask your closest friends, hey, you could ask them, listen, I'm really trying to figure out my next step in life. What is it about me that you remember, that you count on or don't count on? You can always count on me being late, right? Or you're always punctual, or you're always the life of the party, or you're always the quiet one. It's important to get this feedback. And actually, what I would say is write down what you think they think about you. If you're going to do that process, I would highly encourage you to do that, just for transparency and learning and growth. Write down what you think they would say, and then compare it to what they actually say. This is great information. You should be excited to get this information. I know this is I don't want to put it this way, but what if you died today? What would people remember you for? Would they remember all the stuff you did? Would they remember all the times you made them laugh? Would they remember all the times you listened and helped them? These are important things to think about. Write it down. These three tips, I believe, is a great solid start to help you find not just your niche, but who you are, and connect it with a niche. Connect it with a model, a business model that works for your strengths, for all that you are, so you can put your time, energy, and effort into a process, the process of building something, and enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, yes, we need to pay our bills, we need to do all this stuff. But if we don't enjoy it, we're setting ourselves up for a heart attack with all the work that's ahead of us. So really take the time, write it down. And just a quick review, 3 tips to help you find your niche. 1, what are your interests and what are your passions? 2, what problems can you solve? And tip 3, what do people you know talk to you about? This is Eliseo Sansone with Z Theory. Please remember to subscribe, comment below. Love to hear from you. Love to get feedback. And if you know somebody who really needs to hear this, please share it. We appreciate all your support, and we look forward to doing the next video. Take care. God bless.